When I see this many tomatoes, it's time to make salsa. There's the Tiger 2 again. He takes a hit, and I finish him off. Get out of here. Go back to the garage, watch some tutorials, learn how to play the game. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Digital.Flash.Fire. Today we are going to do a little bit of a rant video. I'm going to talk a little bit about armor and how it affects the game. Now, in general, there are a couple different classifications of armor. Of course, there's the paper tanks. These are the light tanks or the paper mediums or the French heavies. Basically tanks that if their armor deflects anything, it's a miracle. You know, it's either because of extreme angling or something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. There are the tanks with functional armor, where if you use it correctly, it can absorb a lot of damage for you. And these are the tanks like, the Carnarvon, the British heavy that I used for that side-scraping video, where the armor isn't fantastic, but because of the way I used it, it worked extremely well. And then there's the tanks where the armor is their primary attribute. For example, the Mutant. The front armor from the Mutant is so close to impenetrable as makes no difference. At least from the front. From the sides, it is an entirely different creature altogether. And I really like it. But from a meta standpoint, from a game design standpoint, this tank has some serious balance implications. Now, they aren't that serious because, you know, the side armor is terrible, and oh yeah, if there's 50 people on the North American server using this tank, I would be stunned. There have been times when I'm pretty sure I had, you know, a third to half of the Mutant games played in the last couple of weeks, which is just ridiculous. But what heavy armor creates, whether it's a Mutant, whether it's an E100, whether it's an AT2 or a Matilda Mark IV in the lower tiers, or any of the Japanese heavies past tier 5. What it does is it creates a situation where the game is played differently because those tanks are in the game. You know, positions that are normally extremely good suddenly become terrible because one tank can completely negate you. And in this case, I'm denying the West team this ridge, which is pretty important to their position. Probably not the best example, but you know, look at like Stalingrad, where, you know, even if this thing isn't top tier, there's a lot of tier 9 tanks that can't do anything about it because the armor is so ridiculous. And it encourages gold spam. You know, you get a type 4 heavy, for example, blocking one of the roads on Stalingrad or on Kharkov or on, you know, any of the city maps. And the only way to dislodge it is either a lot of HE and a lot of artillery, or the, you know, spam gold. And I'm more okay with that now than I used to be, because it used to be that, you know, gold ammo could only be purchased for gold. And that's, you know, when that was the case, this tank was invincible because no one's going to use gold ammo in a pub match against this tank. You know, they'll find a way to flank it, or they'll just avoid it. But now, gold ammo can be purchased for credits. And with that being the case, with anyone being able to get it, and everyone should be carrying a few premium rounds. Everyone should have some just to deal, look, there are games where you're going to be bottom tier head on with a top tier that you can't go around. That's not bad game design. That's the way games are played. Sometimes you're top tier, sometimes you're bottom. So, but it creates a situation where there's a lot of pressure to carry, in this case I've got 8 premium rounds. I'm not going to use any of them in this match because there was nothing I ran into that would drive me to fire them. But, when you play this tank, and this is kind of the point of this video, when you play this tank, you have got to use your armor. I see so many times you've got these heavily armored bully tanks and they sit in the back, and it's like, no, this tank needs to bully. I drove more or less non-stop for the entire game here, and I've got 3,200 damage. Well, plus because I finished off the Ferdy with a blind shot, but I've got, an absolute crap ton of damage. Because I took advantage of my armor, I went front towards enemy, and I just started pounding on people. And that's what armor, lets you do, and that's your role in this game. This tank is not here to be played as a soft support second line tank. I pushed forward until the enemy team made me not push forward. And then, I took ridiculous damage because reasons. That was nice. But, so often you see tanks that have lots of armor sitting way far back. And it's not that they've been outpaced. Sometimes bad players will just race forward and outpace you. And that happens. Nothing can prevent a teammate or even an enemy player from racing forward impetuously and leaving you in a situation where, yeah, you could protect them with your armor if you had a fucking teleporter. By the way, don't do that. Don't ever bump friendly snipers. He hit his shot anyway, thank God. And this is a tank where I don't have nearly the armor, and I'm on a brawling city map. And so you're going to see me play a very different kind of game. I'm going to be using my mobility every bit as much as I did in the other, I kept constantly moving in the other game. This one you're going to see me using my mobility in a different way. And that's the thing, this tank doesn't have fantastic armor, and that's the way it's designed. That's the way this tank plays. It doesn't... Oh, as I say that, it bounces a shot from an IS. World of Tanks. Thanks for... Jesus. But you can't count on the armor on this tank. You have to keep mobile, you have to keep moving, you have to keep firing, or else what are you doing here? Armor, and the KV-5 is another great example. That guy should absolutely be in the front bullying people, protecting his weak spot as much as possible. Not, running around like crazy. And, you have all these tanks that have really good armor that aren't using it. There's no way this guy, A, should have taken that much damage this early. No one blocking me didn't help, but again, I'm not penetrating anything. Armor in this game exists to, like our T-54 is just bouncing shots. Why? Because he has really good armor and he knows how to use it. And I'm just missing everything because I'm terrible. Oh! And there's an example, the Object 416. He actually did a pretty good job of preserving hit points, but it really didn't do it much good because his teammates were failing hard. And especially in a map like this, you have to think of your hit points as the amount of time you can spend on the battlefield. From the front, that T-28 prototype is invincible. It's practically the same as my super mutant. From the side or rear, it's the same as my super mutant. It has no armor there. And, that guy, when he moved into a position, he didn't move into a position with any flank security. He did not use his armor effectively. He didn't, keep his front toward the enemy. He didn't keep himself in a situation where he could abuse that armor, and he let me abuse his weakness. I don't know what happened there. And the end result is, just got crushed. And that's how you have to think. You have to realize where your armor's strong, where your armor's weak. You have to realize, at medium to long range, it's going to force the enemy to shoot premium ammunition because they can't aim for weak points. At close range, you have to know weak spots. You have to, that's the biggest advantage you're going to have, is having the skill to locate and penetrate those weak spots. Especially to play a tank like this, the FC-750T, which RT got me for my birthday. And, if I didn't know weak spots, if I didn't know where to generally aim, this battle could have been a disaster early. And if I didn't recognize the fundamental weakness of my armor and keep maneuvering and keep positioning myself in unexpected ways, well, I would have been out of this game in 2 minutes. It also kind of helps that the other team failed really hard. And, a couple lucky misses, too. Alright, folks, this has been a rant from Digital.Flash.Fire. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good week.